one thing we're just super grateful for is all of our kids are patriots. And not a lot of families can say that these days, no matter, but I think that goes back to a lot of his leadership as a dad, as a father of our family. But it's always we, and it's us and our kids.
And it's been the same way. It's we at the sheriff's office. It's we as a family. When I ran for the Senate, it was we didn't win, or we were doing this.
It was we as a team.
It was always we.
Fire and water meet, going down deep, sing, oh, bury me, carry me, oh, far beneath, oh, fire and water meet, watching me sink, everything free, yeah. Oh, everything free, down to the river. Down to the river.
All right, guys, time for another episode of Sheepdog and Shepherd. Very, very special episode. Two amazing individuals here. And we've got like a kind of a fill-in guest host who bullied his way in just because he loves Sheriff Lamb. So my co-host here, tell them all who you are first.
Hey, I'm Greg. I'm a pastor at the Church of 1122 in Jacksonville, Florida, where I lead our prison campuses and first responder ministry. I also am a chaplain for the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement.
Outstanding. Well, now go ahead. Tell everyone who you are. You just bullied your way onto the show.
I appreciate it. I'm Matthew Silverman. I'm the National President for the Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association. And I had to bully my way in here because I had to be here with Sheriff Lamb and his beautiful wife.
And as a good sheepdog, I must say, they've done nothing but bully you since you got on here.
That's 24/7.
You know, we were saying earlier, who needs enemies when you have friends like this? Right. But Matt is, he sits on our board of advisors, as does Sheriff Lamb. Matt is one of my closest friends. He comes to church with our family. He takes care of our family. He does dishes when he's at our house. He's a pretty good dude. So you guys, well, I mean, I'm sure probably 98% of the people who are watching know who you are, but do you want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'm Janel Lamb. I'm married to the wonderful Sheriff Lamb. We've been married 30 years, 5 kids. Just about to have our 6th grandchild, and we are loving life. We built a great family and a pretty good law enforcement reputation as well.
We did indeed. And I'm Sheriff Mark Lamb, retired Sheriff Mark Lamb. I'm Janelle's husband, and I'm a patriot. I'm a family man, a God-fearing man. I love freedom. I love the Constitution, and that's pretty what my life centers around.
Awesome.
You know, I think what resonated with me about you guys the first time we met was your passion for 2 things: God and country. You were unwavering in where you stood through your entire career, but specifically, I think your big launch of when people got to know and love you was 2020, during the lockdowns and the unconstitutional mandates, and you took a pretty hard stance that you were not going to negotiate with evil.
You know, for me, it wasn't a hard stance. And first of all, we had developed quite a bit of name recognition with Live PD, 60 Days In, a lot of these things. And so I recognize that I have a voice. And so the worst thing is somebody who has a voice but doesn't use it. Or like I've always said, there's nothing worse than having a good fastball and never throwing it. And so when COVID came about, you know, I just felt like we were in a good position to stand up for what was right. And I say it wasn't hard because I had a lot of people asking me, like, Sheriff, is this hard for you to take a stand on this? And I said, no, honestly, the line in the sand is so distinct between what is good and evil and what is wrong and right that I can't not be on this side. And so for me, it was honestly kind of easy. Was the backlash tremendous? Yes. There was a lot of backlash, a lot of scared people, but that's to be expected. When you're in this profession, you realize when people are scared, they lose their minds. That's where you need cooler heads to prevail, and people that are grounded in belief system and what they believe. And for us, it's God, family, freedom, and the Constitution.
You know, when we about a year ago filmed you on a separate series, Great American Women, and your passion and your dedication came through immediately. But we've often said that behind every good man is a way better woman, and honestly a way better looking woman than all of us. We can all attest to that. What's it like being a spouse of not just a law enforcement officer, but someone who draws a lot of fire and takes a lot of flack?
We were talking about the 2020 and everything that was going on, and I have to admit, like, it was really hard to see, because of course social media is the worst, but we got so much hate, so much. I mean, people would say, when he got COVID, people say, I hope you kiss your grandson and he dies. And I'm like, but you're a person who says they're advocating for safety, but yet you're going to send those kind of messages. I mean, it was very extreme, the hate we got. We had to cancel Messenger. We had to just shut it down. It just wasn't worth it. But what people don't really realize a lot of times is what was going on behind the scenes, leadership wise, from Mark. I think that a lot of the decisions that were made at a county level, as far as, masking and just all that kind of stuff, really came from his leadership. I mean, they had the courage to do it, but they needed somebody. They needed the sheepdog to come in and say, this is how it needs to be. And they trusted him to do that, and it was the right decision. And so for me, it made me really proud, actually, to be a part of that, to be a part of something so good. We had people coming from other counties to shop in our county because we were free, we were open. We still felt like America.
We had
It was very satisfying.
and there was a lot of hate, but at the same time, there was a lot of people that were like, thank you for standing up for what is right. That wasn't as publicized, but there was a lot of it that we were getting. We were getting a lot of that feedback, and we're here to talk about God and stuff. There's a scripture in 2 Kings 6:16. It says, fear not, for they that are with us are more than they that are with them. And I probably didn't get it word for word, but that's the gist of it, is there are more of us that believe in the right things. It's the ones with the loudest voice that tend to get the attention. And that's what we saw during COVID. They wanted to make guys like me seem like we were the odd men out, when in reality, the majority of Americans felt the same way we did.
Sheriff, I was going to say that's the same exact thing that happened during Defund the Police. Defund the Police, we set ourselves back for probably a decade in law enforcement. And the bottom line is this, 90% of the people out there, they love the law enforcement. They love what we're doing on a daily basis. It's that 10% that was so loud that got the attention. And you saw it in politics also. You saw it in politics, and you saw them flip when it didn't work their way. I just want to throw something out to Janel. When you said, and it hit me and gave me the chills, so many people are eyeing me. You said we when you were talking to your husband. We built this law enforcement career. We built this reputation. That's something that shows right there how you guys are together after 30 years.
That's right.
Yeah.
We do. We just out of habit. We just
we.
say we. It's always we. And it's not just us, it's our kids too. One thing we're just super grateful for is all of our kids are patriots. And not a lot of families can say that these days, no matter, but I think that goes back to a lot of his leadership as a dad, as a father of our family. But it's always we, and it's us and our kids.
And it's been the same way. It's we at the sheriff's office. It's we as a family. When I ran for the Senate, it was we didn't win, or we were doing this.
It was we as a team.
It was always we. Had I won, it would have been I. But it was we lost.
Don't listen to him. He never says I for anything.
I don't say I for anything.
No, not very
and they
often.
would correct me on the campaign team. They'd be like, you need to say I, and I'm like, nah, I'm just not going to do it.
It's too hard.
I don't do it by myself. Like, everything we accomplished at the sheriff's office was a we. Everything we've accomplished on our career was a we. You can't do any of it alone. So yeah, thank you for picking that out. But we don't even notice it. It's so normal for us. We don't even notice it.
But we do.
Yeah.
So speaking of we, there's a third party to your marriage, and
You better clarify that, because
Yeah.
people are sorry.
Yeah.
They've
Get to the
said
point
all
quick
sorts
on
of
that one.
rumors.
Get there quick. Yeah.
Let me be the one to clarify that.
Yeah.
So you've actually taken on, you mentioned being the sheepdog. You've taken on an incredible role as a sheepdog for your community, for this nation. I see you as an incredible shepherd, guiding the people in your community. Talk to me a little bit about how your faith has been so integral in how you lead, not just the agency you represented, the communities you represent, but even had you been elected, like how would you have led as a shepherd because of your faith and how it's impacted your life?
Well, the faith is everything. I became sheriff because of my faith and my wanting to do what is right. There's a lot of people that say they have faith, that say they want to do what is right, but they're too scared to actually do it. And you've got to be bold in your belief system. You got to be bold in doing what is right for God. And so when we ran for sheriff originally, it was because we didn't like the direction of the country. And to Matt's point, we didn't like what was happening to law enforcement. We didn't like how the tables were shifting, where law enforcement was becoming the enemy to the community. And so instead of being the guy that just complained about it, we felt this overwhelming impression to run. But I almost pulled out of it. I actually left the sheriff's office so that I could prepare to run for office. I built this business. The business was doing really well. And I was in Utah at the time working. And I called her and I said, hey, look, I've been reading a lot about running for office and it looks like it sucks. And I said, I could do it 4 years from now. I could do it down the road. Maybe we just keep going with the business stuff and we just do it a different time. And so we hang up. She's like, I support you. I hang up. For the next 24 to 48 hours, I could not shake the feeling. All day at work, I lay in bed at night. I could not shake the feeling of running for sheriff. So I called her back 2 days later and I just said, screw it, let's do it. And so what we've done in our whole life since, we've always done this, but what we really saw though, is we started taking on more responsibility, we could really see God's hand, not only in what we had been through in the past, but we could see clearly the places we needed to go and the decisions we needed to make. And we wouldn't be here where we are today. We wouldn't be sitting here talking about it had I not just trusted and done things. My guys at my sheriff's office I would say, hey, we're going to do this. Well, I don't know. This scares us. And they say, well, what's the reason? I said, I don't have a reason. Just that this is what I feel like we're supposed to do. And we would do it and it would work out. To the point where those guys became really faithful in making decisions based on what we just felt was right. And it was, so when you talk about where God is in us, it's right there. When I say my belief system is God, family, freedom, and the Constitution, that's it. When we were running for the Senate, people would say, well, you need to say it this way, or you should change your belief system on life, or what, any of those hot topic items. And I would tell them, I'd say, hey, let me stop you right there. I'm more concerned with my meeting with my maker than I am about winning this election. And so I've never been concerned about winning the next election or what the haters might say or any of those things. I'm concerned about what is my relationship with God. And when I stand in front of him, am I going to be able to hold my head high and say, I did what you asked me to do?
Amen. Amen.
So we, as believers, we pray that we'll never be tested in our faith. And yet you guys probably went through the hardest test that any parents could ever face. We'll talk a little bit about that and how you came out of it.
Before she tells you about it, I'll just tell you, I don't pray for patience. I don't pray for any of those things, because you don't want what comes with it to get those things. And I honestly don't pray for not to re-get it. I just, I pray for other people and other things, and I just pray that I be in the right place at the right time. Because I've learned, if you start praying for specific things, you better watch out, buckle up.
Well, there's a saying that's, if you pray, I want more patience in my life, all you're going to get is actually situations where you're going to be asked to be more patient.
Learn patience.
If you want anything, if you pray for more courage, you're going to be you're not just going to be given courage, you're going to be put in a situation for you to grow your courage.
For sure.
And
I
so,
never thought about it like that.
and so, that's, we've kind of learned our lesson that way. We just pray for strength to learn whatever lesson it is we need to learn. At
God's
this
not
point.
Santa Claus. He's not handing out patience and courage. He's giving you the things that strengthens your patience and your courage.
And one thing that I've always kind of believed and lived by is I always want to show the Lord what I have. And I think sometimes though, he's trying to show us what we have. He already knows what we have. He knows we have courage. He knows we have patience. He knows we have strength. We sometimes forget those things. And so he needs us to prove to ourselves our courage, our patience, our strength, our love, our unconditional love. Because some people are not easy to love. And we don't have to love everybody. But
It's to show ourselves.
He knows what we're capable of. Yeah, he knows what we're
I've always looked at it as like a law enforcement thing, right? The tools in your toolbox. We learned it all through the academy. Get those tools so you can be the best police officer, the best sheriff that you can, right? And that's what God's giving you, all those tools to do that. So you don't need the one thing, you need all of it, and you need it yourself. He'll give you what you need. You have to believe that.
And you can't play small. You can't play small. Like we're sons and daughters of God. I mean, if that doesn't put into perspective, there's not a single person like you in this world. Nobody has the same fingerprints, same DNA, same irises. We are unique creations to this world. If that in and of itself doesn't tell you the specialness, the godliness of who you are as an individual, I don't know. I mean, I think God probably just sits back and he's like, one of these days, I really wish they understand what kind of engine they have under the hood and realize how far and fast they can go if they'll just push on the gas.
Well, it goes back to the story in the Bible about the talents and the servants, and which servant was rewarded? The one who increased his talent. The one who buried it in the sand, he was not rewarded. Right. And it's such a simple story, but it's got such a huge effect it has on my life. That's always how I've thought about this, not to hide your light under a bushel, not to bury your talent. And it's not easy. It's not easy to put yourself out there. It's not easy to say that thing that feels, like maybe somebody won't like it, but that's what we've been commanded to do.
And you talk about the Sheepdog and the Shepherd. That's the name of your show. Do you guys know that?
I heard.
Yeah.
They're aware.
You talk about faith. You talk about all these things. We're not immune to, people look at us and they think, oh, your life's got to be perfect. No, it's perfect because we choose for it to be perfect, but it's anything but. Like, we get the challenges, and honestly, we probably get challenges. The higher you try to climb up the ladder, the harder the wind blows. You don't have any more buildings to block the wind. You're out there on this rickety old ladder that's blowing from side to side. We had a son who struggled with the drug addiction that we just dealt with for years, to the point where he ended up hitting a guy on a bike. I'm giving you the cliff notes. Hit a guy on a bike, ended up getting charged, spent 6 months in my jail. As a matter of fact, my book is American Sheriff, Traditional Values in Modern World. That's my first book. Her first book was the sheriff's wife, holding it all together behind the scenes in politics, which you can get at sherifflamb.com or thesheriffswife.com. But we wrote those books because we couldn't afford to pay the legal fees, and the guy that he hit on the bike, we had to settle with him. So my wife and I wrote those books, and we went and sold those books every weekend at gun shows or anywhere else we could to pay for my son's mistake. And so he ends up serving 6 months in my jail, only to get out, and 2 months later, in December of 2022, his 11-month-old daughter and his soon-to-be wife, we call her our daughter-in-law because she lived with us for 2 years, but they were hit and killed by somebody driving under the influence of drugs and alcohol. Killed all three of them. I had somebody ask me the other day, they said, did that rock your faith? And I said, actually, no. What it did was it made me show my faith. So in those situations, you have two options. You're going to find out whether you really do have faith in what you've been talking about all these years, because it's easy to say you do until you need to actually implement it. Or are you going to implement it? And we chose that our faith was going to be implemented. So it didn't rock us. It actually allowed us to exercise the faith that we knew we had inside of us all this time. And so we viewed that whole situation. The reason I bring up the shepherd and the sheepdog, we had 4 other kids. We had 5 kids. So for one, when we got rocked, first day or two, we're thinking about ourselves, but we had to stop and say, wait, we have 4 other kids to shepherd through this. And not only that, we have to sheepdog them. We have to protect them. And then we had a whole entire community who was watching how we responded to it. We had a whole agency who was watching, what was our leader going to do? Here he is up front, he's fallen. What is he going to do? So we had those sheepdog shepherd moments where we were going to say, we're going to get up and move forward, and we can continue to shepherd our family. We're going to continue to shepherd our community, our sheriff's office, and we're going to continue to sheepdog them. We're going to continue to protect them. And that's kind of where we ended up as a family, where we just found peace in the ability to get up and move forward.
I was blown away by seeing you a month to the day after you lost them at SHOT Show in Vegas. And I'm going to be honest with you, man, I thought you'd be a mess because I would have been a mess. And it completely rocked me seeing you not a mess. And I don't know if you remember the conversation when I said, how are you holding it together? And you just said, God and family. And that was it. And man, that was so inspiring to me because I'd be in a dark room. I don't know how most people could ever deal with that. And your faith shone like a beacon of light, man, and was just, I don't think that you even understand the impact that your marriage, your relationship, your story has had on so many people. And isn't that sort of the beauty of being Christians, right? That we'll probably never know the impact that we have on people that we'll never even meet.
We've had glimpses of it though. Tell her about the gal in the airport.
So yeah, we were at the airport and we normally don't wait right down by the gate, but we got there to board and then it was delayed. So we were just kind of standing around, just shooting the breeze with some people that we ran into. And this woman was bawling. I mean, she was bawling. And she came up to me and she said, this was probably, was this probably maybe 3 months later?
It was less than
Maybe,
6 months.
yeah,
after
3 or 4 months later. she goes, I can't believe I'm seeing you here. She goes, can I just hug you? And of course I was like, yes. And I'm like, what, are you okay? You know, she was really crying. And she said, you know, I've watched you, I've watched your family. She goes, I'm going to Seattle because my son died last night of a fentanyl overdose. And I have to go there and take care of his stuff. And I mean, immediately, of course, I start crying. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And she's like, but it's just such a blessing that I'm seeing you here because I've followed your story. And now I'm actually, to actually see you and be able to hug you means everything.
She said, this is a sign from God.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay.
She's like, I can do it. She goes, I can do this. I mean, it was such a moment. It was such a moment. And she's followed up with me since. I've kept in touch with her a little bit and just, you know, asked her how her kids were. And I said, how are your kids? She goes, not good. It was just, I mean, she was just in that, but she was in that initial gut punch. Just, you don't even know what's up or down. You're just, and she's like, just seeing you and being able to give you a hug. And
God
so
puts people in your path.
Oh yeah, 100%. The whole morning had actually been full of different experiences, but that was kind of like the culmination. So it's almost like not only did that happen, but God had prepared me specifically all morning to run into her. And it was just really special. So we've had multiple experiences like that. And so just to experience that has given us, I mean, that's what really gives us the courage to keep going. And it's just God letting us know very specifically that we're doing the right thing, we're on the right path. And
That's awesome.
And we understand what role we play. So we are unapologetic about our belief system. For one, it's what's carried us through. So how can you turn your back on it? A lot of people, they need God, and then when they get through that, then they realize, I'm okay. You know, it's like that. I heard a story of a guy falls off this cliff and ends up praying while he's on his way down, save me God and I'll be better. And then he hits a branch and he's like, never mind, I'm good. You know, that's how that's how most people are.
Yeah, I
So
don't
we
want to
try
have to owe you something.
Yeah, we try to not be that person. You know, we try to continue to be an example. We know that people are watching. To give it it's a illustration of that. We can go to a restaurant or we can go to the airport, and then later on we'll see social media and somebody's like, I saw a sheriff and his wife at this restaurant, and take a picture of you from off to the side. So you realize that a lot of people are watching. Yeah. So you constantly have to be on your game, and you constantly have to be who you say you are.
So what are you doing now? I mean, you should have been in the Senate, but God's got obviously a very different plan, and so
we're not mad. We're not mad that did not happen. Anybody that's been in politics, for those who don't know, I ran for the U.S. Senate, and I thought we ran a really good race, which would have won. If you talk to Democrats, Independents, Republicans, they said you would have won the election, but you got to get through the primary. I didn't win the primary, And I had somebody say the other day, they said, if you were to do it different, would you run a different race? I said, no, I ran the right race. I ran the race that would have won. I didn't ever disparage anybody. We talked about the reason why we thought we were best was because we were protecting God, family, freedom, and the Constitution. But also I talked about who I was and what qualifications I brought. Imagine that. Politics being about what you bring to the table, not how bad the other person is. And because we ran that race, even though we didn't win in the end, we still won. Like our life 10x'd, you know, how people viewed us. They said, first of all, the guy was a warrior, never backed down, continued to stay in the fight, and never changed his approach to, we never changed it. We stayed consistent with, this is who we are, this is the message, and if that's not enough to be there, then it won't be there. So now I didn't win, so I couldn't run for both sheriff and Senate at the same time. I didn't have to quit, but I couldn't run for both. So I picked Senate. So I had to retire from sheriff on December 31st. And since then, we've just been doing consulting. We brought our kids on to work with us, and we're building a couple businesses with the kids and just having a good time.
Let's talk about those businesses. What do you guys got?
Yeah, so I'm doing consulting. I'm consulting for FAIR, the Federation for American Immigration Reform, 501c3 out of DC that focuses on border security, immigration, fairus.org if you want to check them out. I'm their law enforcement advisor. I'm also doing some work for some law enforcement companies. I do BI2 Technologies that does iris scanning. They're also getting into offsetting the cost of sheriff's offices with insurance. I'm working with Axon. And everybody knows Axon, that's tasers, body cameras, and a lot of other, they are kind of at the cutting edge of the technology. Working with a company called Peregrine, which is a AI platform for records management. So basically, no matter what kind of operating system or CAD system, that's computer-aided dispatch that these agencies have, you can take all that data and put it into one place. So if I were to say Rose Tattoo, it'll pull everywhere that any report, any booking photo, anything that says that has a rose tattoo, and starts to narrow my search down from any agency that's on that platform. So it's a great product. And then we're building a couple businesses with our kids, because consulting lasts for a while, but at some point your shine wears off. And so we want to build businesses that are based on the product. One of them is, it's a niche market for those who are that do undercover work. So when we own undercover cars, either we rent them from Enterprise or we buy them. Well, first of all, if you rent them, they look like rental cars. And then when you drive into a neighborhood, guess what? The bad guys know they're rental cars. Or you own them. And if you burn it on a drug deal, you can't use it for a while. So what we're doing is we built a company, and we actually named it after my son that died. We named it Cooper Jones. And what we do is we provide job-appropriate UC vehicles, and if you burn it, we'll bring you another car within 24 hours so that you constantly have, and they're cars that look like they belong in neighborhoods. Now, the detectives probably won't want to drive all those. They like to drive the nicest, newest cars, but they're more job-appropriate, and we think it solves a problem in the agencies. So it's a niche market. I don't have to dominate a lot of it. If I have, 500 cars in the market, it's a good company. So, and the other one is, in law enforcement, we all have to go 10-7 at some point. Everybody ends their career at some point. The problem is that many cops start this career at 21 years old, some even at 19 if they start in the jail. And I've seen it 2 or 3 times when I've made decisions to leave one agency to run for sheriff in another one. They'll say, "Oh my gosh, Sheriff, what are you going to do? How are you going to make money?" I'm like, "I'm going to start a business." They really know nothing about business. They don't know what a sole proprietorship is, a trade name, an LLC, and how to offset your taxes and all these things. And so what we're developing is a community, and it will be a paid membership, and we're probably going to be at $50 a month. But the value that it will bring is we will help you start your businesses. We'll help you set up your first LLC with that membership. We give you 4 times a year. You can spend an hour with the attorney. which that in and of itself is a greater value than what you'll pay all year. And we're creating a community of helping each other have success and getting these guys and retired cops and even cops that are on the job still make really great entrepreneurs. Not only do they have confidence, they have a lot of knowledge of different marketplaces. They know about dealing with people and sales. The problem is they just don't know how to take that and implement it. And so that's going to be, our website will be go107.com. And I told my wife I'm going to have to write a book that I'm going to try to release at the same time, which is 10-7, where your shift ends and your life begins. Because I think a lot of people think that once they stop being a cop, that's it. That's their identity. We're going to change that. We want your identity. That was just the minor leagues. That prepared you for being a successful business.
Better hurry up on that book because 10-7 is coming up pretty fast here this year.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we're going to try to launch this June 1st, but somewhere in between June and July, we'll launch that website. And our goal is to get not only police officers on the job or retired, but also veterans. Want to help them build businesses and be successful. So
Awesome.
it'd be go107.com or 107consulting.com.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Parting thoughts, gentlemen?
I would love to say if FLEOA can help you out at all with that and get that out to our 35,000 members.
What is FLEO for people who aren't familiar with you guys?
So FLEO is a nonprofit professional organization. We're representing 35,000 federal agents from across 65 different agencies. Federal side, we're not allowed to have unions, but we're pretty much a union without being a union. We don't do collective bargaining, but we do have 7 attorneys that are on staff with us for any kind of internal affairs investigations or any kind of shooting or anything like that. We also have our legislative team that's out there fighting. Like right now, they just passed bills for cutting pay and benefits for federal law enforcement, and we've been having meetings with congressmen and senators now for the past 6 months leading up to this because we knew this was coming. So we're doing certain things there to help them out. So those are the two main
And the foundation?
things. So our FLEOA Foundation. FLEOA Foundation is our 501c3 nonprofit, and they're the ones who are raising money to help if any of our members get hurt, somebody gets killed in the line of duty, somebody loses. Exactly. So Dan is great, and I know that you're working with Dan. Dan actually helped us sponsor us coming out here to the border, for our border.
That's Trinity. That's the healthcare stuff that they're doing. Help offset the costs for the sheriff's office. That's what Dan does. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's been a great trip. We're out here for the National Law Enforcement Officer Hall of Fame induction, dinner, gala, party, soiree. And we spent a few days on the border in your stomping grounds. We were out with Art Del Cueto, the National Vice President of the National Border Patrol Council, National Spokesman, loudmouth. Love that dude. And then we
Uses it.
Yeah, he does,
Yeah,
man. Yeah, he does.
Look, a lot of people, and I know you're trying to close it out,
No,
but a lot
you're
of
good.
people, they think it's easy to get on camera. Well, first of all, most of these interviews that are very inconvenient times. Like last night, she had been up since early in the morning. I'd had a long day, and then we got a call from Fox to go do an interview last night. We had to drive to Dallas, do the interview last night, and got back here close to midnight. And so a lot of people don't realize, guys like Art, it is not easy sometimes, but we believe that letting your voice be heard and speaking for the people that don't have a platform or a megaphone. So,
Well, you want to talk about people with loud voices, man. We got together in the middle of nowhere with Tom Holman, and that guy's a legend.
he's a legend.
He doesn't care about what the media thinks, but you know who he does care about? Americans.
That's right. He's mission oriented. He's
Yep.
mission oriented. And I do want to talk to you about something. I think that one of the travesties in this country is I love that we take care of our veterans, but we don't take care of our law enforcement guys. In the sense that, why is there not a program? Because we actually spent 20 years, 25, 30 years, a program that allows for law enforcement officers to have a VA type loan. And yet you have, if you're in the military for a year, 2 years, 3 years, you can then get a VA loan. We spent 20, 30 years on the street and there is nothing. And so I know Sam Royer, a guy that's out of Pennsylvania, is working on it. I'd love to see if we can put some legislation together for trying to get something for law enforcement to incentivize these guys, because the retirement's not as good. let's give them some incentives for wanting to be in this profession.
If we can help in any way with that, we're working on a couple pieces of legislation right now. One of those would be internal affairs cases in the federal side of things. I mean, you're talking about 2 years, 3 years before a case gets closed up. That mental health and wellness aspect of it is killing, literally killing our federal agents. I know a lot of state and locals have a time frame, and we just don't have that. So that's one of the legislation pieces that we're going to be putting in. And we do have sponsorships with mortgage companies also that will help with our law enforcement mortgages, but they're not the same as VA. I'd love to get together with you and work on something like that.
And I think that's something we should be doing for our law enforcement.
Agreed.
That's the sheepdogging and the shepherding.
Totally. Pastor, parting thoughts.
Sheriff, I've followed you for a long time. I love the fact that God is the foundation of everything you believe in. Miss Janel, it's been an honor. I've really enjoyed meeting you. Last night was fabulous, but today, sitting down with you guys has been awesome. I look forward to hanging out with y'all tonight. Thank y'all for joining us on Sheepdog and Shepherd.
Let me tell you something. He just downplayed that. For like 3 weeks, he's been saying, do I get to meet Sheriff Lamb? Do I get to finally meet him? I can't wait to meet him. We're going to make this happen, right? I said, yeah, bro, we're going to make this happen.
I'm a fanboy.
Well, we appreciate the support. It means a lot.
Thank you,
And thank
sir.
you for what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, my closing thought would just be, we're going to go where our voice is strongest for God, family, and freedom. So that's where you're going to find us, whether it's in the private sector doing things. We've realized that there's a lot that can be done to help Americans, help this country, help the conservative agenda, help law enforcement, whatever, without being an elected official. There's so much that can be done. So whether we run for office again, I don't know, but we're going to go wherever our voice is strongest for those things.
I love it. And retired sheriff, parting thoughts?
Retired sheriff, well, I'm anything but retired.
Yeah.
I just don't have a gun and a badge that I can carry every day. I still can carry the gun. I still carry the gun. Look, I know we talk about pray, we talk about all this. Look, I think that the majority of the people in this world who are unhappy, who are angry, who are frustrated, it's because you are trying to control an outcome of the which you have zero control over. And when you give in and understand that God truly controls all that, all he wants from you is a good attitude and hard work, you'll find that the things that you viewed as negative things and experiences in your life are truly what are making you into the person that you are destined to be. So let go, surrender the outcome, embrace who you are, and let God do the rest. And so let him be your shepherd, and let him be your sheepdog. Let him protect you, because if you're going to go down that path, you're going to need some protection as well. So appreciate you guys having us on, and it's such a pleasure to be able to sit with like-minded, God-fearing, freedom-loving patriots like yourselves. So
Thank you, guys.
and of course, letting my wife come on, because she
Of
makes me
course.
look better no matter where I am.
Way
Absolutely.
better, way better.
She made all of us look better.
Quick shout out to ALS Paysum, was one of our sponsors to come out here and tell these stories today. Incredible organization based out of Perry, Florida. They make everything from less lethal munitions to explosive ordinances for overseas to flashbangs and smoke, anti-drone technology now. Just an incredible organization that wants to do whatever they can to keep Americans safe and specifically keep law enforcement officers safe. Also, a big shout out to Castell Enterprises, another one of our sponsors for this trip, doing incredible work on the border, helping now with the deportations, formerly putting up these massive camps as people flooded into America in that invasion, and yet now they're working on the flip side, which is helping move them in the opposite direction. So big shout out to them. Also big shout out to the Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association. I'll tell you, how many people have we met just last night at the dinner alone who said, I'm here today because Flioa helped to save my life. I mean, Victor Avila, man, you want to talk, and he's going to yell at me because I screwed up his name again because I still can't say it.
I corrected him yesterday, and he goes, no, he said it. It's Avila. I said, no, it's Avila. But
Victor and I joke around because my dad's side is Puerto Rican, and yet my Spanish speaking still sucks.
and
You're good.
Victor has an amazing story, and we'll let Victor tell his story on camera. But long story short was Victor and his partner got attacked by the cartel. His partner was killed by the cartel. Victor took a couple shots himself, and Flio was there to help support him. Rental cars to help him get around, money to help get him on his feet. I mean, unfortunately, sometimes the federal government doesn't do what's right as fast as they should for their people.
Shocker.
But the biggest thing that we did for Victor And that whole entire situation was, we got a bill passed, and he was presented with the red line copy of that bill, and that bill is basically saying that if we have people that are overseas and something happens like what happened there, the federal government's going to intercede and going to do something about it.
Man, when Victor was talking about FLEOA last night, he was in tears. And this was years ago, and the impact that your organization has had, second to none. So, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Thanks for hitting that share button. Tell everybody about the Law Enforcement Today channel that's launched now on pray.com. God bless you all, and God bless America.